Hi, my name's Steve Large, and I want to talk a little bit about empathic children. My son's empathic, and I'm sure a lot of your children are too. The main concern with this is, like my son, he's 7 coming on for 8. Now, he's got a lot of external influences, especially in the school playground and in the school environment. In school, they're taught to get jobs, to think, remember, constantly think and remember all the time, which is overuse of the minds. They shouldn't be thinking all the time. They should use the mind to think and remember when is needed. So he's now developing a mind association through constantly thinking. He's always in his head because he's got things to think about. And then he gets homework, which I don't have him doing, which is my perspective, because at home, that's when I teach him. That's not when the school teaches them. The school's got their own time to teach them. That's something totally different. So, yeah, for me, what we have to be aware of is the fact that he's got, or our children have got, all these external influences pulling them to mainstream consumerism. So everything is teaching them to get in the head at an early age. I watch some of the programs, especially Disney films. It always makes me concerned when I see him watching a film, Beauty and the Beast, things like that, where it's the lovely person, the empath who lives alone, that's attacked by the mob. Now, this is what they're being subliminally taught, that loners, which aren't loners, they're empathic people, but they keep themselves to themselves due to not understanding. It leads to persecution by the mob. Now, for me, our children are getting taught this at an early age, that it's acceptable and it's a normal thing to do, to attack, not to ask and say, hey, how are you feeling, and show empathy. It's to attack them and in the mob. And this is at an early age that they're getting conditioned with this. And this happens in the playground as well. So I have to be careful what I teach my son, because as much as I have to teach him to love and be open and love all beings, all animals, this is why on our path and our journey, we are vegans. This is why. But this is not to judge others. We're all where we are. But this is why we are where we are, because this is what I try and teach him, is what we should be doing. And that he should be loving everything. Every living being on this planet, he should be loving. There should be no violence. There should be no suffering for anyone or anything. We are all entitled to experience life. And that can go down to ducks, cats, dogs, pigs, anything you want to. We've all got this life experience that we're entitled to live. So I'm teaching him this, and I know he goes to school and there's not many other kids being taught the same thing. Now, what's my choice? Do I not teach him this and teach him to fit in? And then go into consumerism, and then when he's 18 you go out drinking, you do this, you sleep around, and you do what kids are supposed to do, or young adults are supposed to do according to their society that they grow up in. Or, which I've chosen to do, is I teach him that, being an empath and loving is not an easy path, but it's the right path, because the other path is only going to lead to more suffering. So even though you're suffering now and feeling lonely now, it's the path to enlightenment and inner peace and real joy and happiness. You have to go down this path to reach happiness. If you serve your mind and you follow the crowd serving your mind, you are going to suffer. There is no other way about it. If you serve your mind is always going to tell you it's not happy. You have not got enough in your life. It's not going to be grateful, because the mind is designed to do that, to question, to look for better. It always wants better. It's never grateful, but that's its job. It's not the enemy, it's just its job. It's what it does. Like your arm and your hand pick things up, your mind tries to make things better and comfortable for you. So it's never grateful, it's always looking. Now, if you live in your mind, which empathic children are being taught to do, and to just get on with it, and what's that nonsense, then you're going to live a life of suffering. So for me and my son, I teach him that he can be anything. I teach him that I say to him, it's like, look, mate, it's like, you can own your own business by the age of 12 or 13. And he says, oh, who's going to want to hire me at that age? It's like, who wouldn't? Why do you think that? Because you're being taught that, what, you have to go into school till whatever age and then go and get a job. I teach my son that he follows his heart and his intuition, and he follows his passion in life. So for me, it's like, you can do whatever you want to do, because when you decide what you want to do, that's what we're going to learn. We're going to start learning that from the age of 8, 9, 10, whatever age. He's going to start learning how to do his passion in his life. So by the time he's 13 or 14, he'll already be very well educated on his passion, whatever that may be. Now, this is important, especially as an empath, to follow your heart. And it's also important for us to teach our children who are empathic to love. We have to teach them to love, and we have to teach them at an early age, because all children love. All children love animals. We condition them to eat animals. We condition them to all the stuff that's against empathy and society does. I am guilty of it. It's something that we're taught by our parents, that we're taught by their parents, that was taught by the system, which has led us down this path. Nothing teaches us about empathy or loving. We're never taught that. We're always taught about, get a job, you've got to succeed, you've got to do this, you've got to do that. This is what you have to do. We're never taught in school of how to keep our compassion, how to use our intuition, how to keep loving, and what's important, how to embrace a situation in a positive manner, how to embrace a conflict, and instead of showing more conflict, how to turn it into love and reverse it, how to approach everything in a positive aspect. And now that isn't some hairy-fairy, oh yeah, tra-la-la, everything's perfect way of thinking. It's not. I understand fully what the world's about. I have been suffering with depression for longer than most people have been alive. So I understand exactly what the world's about. Now, what do? Do I focus on that every single day? Oh, it's bad. Or do I say, you know what? I'm going to go into it wholeheartedly with my heart and soul, and I'm going to make today a better day. And I'm not going to let anyone get me down, because that's what I choose. And do I teach my son that, oh, the world's horrible, the world's this? I teach my son exactly what the world's like. I teach him about the elites, and I teach him about how the corporations and how through birth certificates and everything like that, we're on the stock market. He understands this at an early age, but he also understands about love and what's important. You have to know the bullshit to see the truth. You need to know the illusion to know reality. So for me, teaching my empathic son, I have to give him that balance. So I give him real love and real hope on reality. He knows when he goes into the school, that's going into the illusion and into the system. And when he comes home, this is where he belongs. So he knows to play the game and fit in, because you have to fit in society, because you get persecuted and ridiculed if you don't. But it's knowing that you just fit in. It's just a character you put on to fit in. As empaths, we need a safe place, and a place in a community where we can talk without ridicule and mocking, or mocking even. And we need to teach our children the same thing, that it's okay to be them, and we need to embrace it, and we need to explain to them all the trials and tribulations of being an empath, and encourage them to stay true to their intuition and their love, regardless of how everything on the outside world pulls them. We have to do this by teaching them the difference between a thought and reality, which is intuition. They have to understand the difference. And I teach my son this all the time through scenarios, and I get him to explain it back. So I teach him perspective. And I'll teach him, this is how they see it because of this variation, that variable or that variable. And I teach him that if you see it this way, so he understands there's two sides to every story. Everyone's got their perspective on every situation. And that's fine. There's no right or wrong, only perspective. So I hope this helps a little bit. And I can go into all this in so many other different, there's so many little tangents I could go off on all aspects of this. This is just a generalization of, for empathic kids, they need support, they need nurturing, and they need to understand to follow their intuition. I ask my son's advice on all my YouTube videos. He's 7 years old. I ask his advice on everything because he's tuned in with his intuition. And I encourage this, and I show him that I value his intuition as opinion, opposed to mind-based thought. Yeah, my name's Steve Large. I hope this has helped. You can message me or leave comments, whatever, and I'll try and elaborate a little bit more if you need it. Love and light. Have a great day, evening, wherever you are. Thank you.